Hey guys, welcome back to Chef Monica's Kitchen. Today I am making a special request for Jeff. This is a Spanish tuna and rice salad, very typical Spanish tapas dish, and it's one of Jeff's favorites, so I'm gonna make a big batch for him. But we need to start off by making rice, which on its surface seems like the easiest thing on the planet to make, but it's actually one of the last things I learned to make. For some reason I could not figure out how to make rice. Either it was underdone, overdone, it would overflow, it was a nightmare. Rice cookers are great. If you've got one of those, by all means use that. But, so the very basics of cooking rice 101 is it's a 2-to-1 ratio. 1 cup of rice to 2 cups of liquid. In this case, we're using a basmati rice, a long grain rice. You could use any long grain rice. I'm gonna toss that in our saucepan here with a couple of, oh, I'm twisting for a cap that's not there. A couple of tablespoons of olive oil. And then our 2 cups of vegetable stock in this case. You could use water as well, but I want to add a little bit of extra flavor to this because this is kind of going to be the base of the salad. So we'll toss that in there. And then for seasoning on this, our typical salt and pepper, and then paprika, our smoked paprika. Most Spanish cuisine has a lot of paprika in it, so make sure you're generous with that. A little bit, this time I'm doing Italian seasoning. Normally it would really just be oregano, but I don't like oregano just by itself. Personally, I find it a little bit bitter, so a little bit of garlic powder, a lot of bit of garlic powder, and a tiny bit of crushed red pepper flakes because I know that makes Jeff happy. Not out of that end, this end. Otherwise it'll be the whole thing and that will be inedible.
Ouch.
Except for maybe for you.
I'd still eat it.
He'd still eat it. Okay, and then, so what I've discovered is I bring this to a boil and reduce it to a simmer, cover it, and I only cook this for about 15 minutes. I don't do the full 20 minutes that it usually calls for. After the 15 minutes, I turn it off and then I let it sit there for the last 5 or so. That way, the steam finishes off the cooking process and it absorbs the remainder of the liquid without scorching on the bottom. So I'll put this over the heat and we'll check back on it in about that 15 minutes or so and see what we got. Alrighty, so the rice is cooked. I do want to make sure that I clarified because my husband was confused. So bring it to a boil first, then cover it and reduce the heat down, and then you simmer it for 15 minutes. And if you start noticing that it wants to like bubble over, you can just tiny bit lift the lid just to let some of that steam out. Just lift it a tiny bit to let some of that steam out so that it doesn't overflow. That's not gonna affect anything. And when I turned this off, there was still a significant amount of liquid in there. But you can see that after leaving it to sit for about 5 minutes after it's cooked for that 15, it absorbed all that liquid. So that's exactly what you want. Let me just take this. I'm gonna fluff it real quick with my fork here. And then I'm gonna transfer this to a bowl because I want this to cool completely before I add the rest of the ingredients. Frankly, this would be a really good side dish just as is. It smells wonderful.
It smells wonderful, all the spices and flavoring. Yeah,
so
that's it.
If you just wanted a quick side dish of rice for whatever reason, this is probably the best way to cook it right here. So pop that in there. We're gonna let this cool for probably about 20 minutes or so, and then we'll come back and add the rest of the ingredients for the salad. Alrighty, so we're ready to assemble this tuna and rice salad. So I have the rice that's cooled over here. To that, we're going to add some cucumber. I just went ahead and peeled most of it, but left a little tiny bit of that on there. Cut it in quarters lengthwise and cut out the seeds. I don't like to leave the seeds in my salads with my cucumbers because they tend to then leach a lot of liquid and it makes it really liquidy that way. Also, the seeds are
leach liquid, it makes it liquidy?
Yeah, I know, that's very scientific. But also, if you ever have like a burp problem with cucumbers, it's usually because of the seeds. So if you remove the seeds, it makes you burp less. So that's not the best thing to discuss, but I do know it's something. So we'll pop those in there. I also have some fresh radishes that I got from the farm this week, so I went ahead and cut those in half and then sliced them fairly thin. Or throw those in there. You don't have to if you don't like radishes. You could use pretty much any other vegetables you want.
We are using the ingredients we have in the house.
We are using what we have in the house, what we got fresh from Coneflower Farm. I have some green onions that I sliced up here. You could use regular onion if you wanted to. You could use shallots. You could use chives, whatever you've got growing. Next to that, what also looks like green onion is green garlic. We're gonna go ahead and toss that in there that I sliced in, or just regular garlic, whatever you've got again. And then some cilantro and parsley that I chopped up. You don't have to use the cilantro if you don't like it. Notice this is a very flexible recipe. All recipes are flexible, technically. I mean, there are certain basics that you have to do right, like how to cook rice. But other than that, what else you add is really just up to you. Capers, very common in Spanish cuisine. We won't use too many because I don't know how much Jeff loves them.
That's good.
They're good. A tiny bit of Worcestershire sauce. I know we talked about Worcestershire the other day with a different recipe, but we're going to add a little bit of that umami flavor with our Worcestershire. And then, normally, this is dressed with a little bit of mayonnaise and ketchup. Believe it or not, I do not have ketchup in the house. So, you can use the ketchup and mayonnaise version, or if you happened to watch the recipe that I made about probably 2 weeks ago about the roasted pepper sauce, I always have roasted pepper sauce on hand.
This just came out of the freezer. We made it at
We made it and froze it, but I have it, so we're going to use that instead.
Which is peppers and mayonnaise.
Peppers and mayonnaise and some other spices, so we're going to use that instead. See if I can get it out of the hole here. Oh, there we go. I'm going to say about 3 to 4 tablespoons of that, which would mean that if you're doing the ketchup and mayonnaise version, I would probably go with about a tablespoon of ketchup and about 3 tablespoons of mayonnaise. And then I just have a family pack of light tuna. Literally, we're not doing anything fancy here with the tuna. If you want to get all fancy and get like a high quality albacore tuna, by all means go for it. But this is probably what you have on hand. Believe it or not, my cat used to eat nothing but tuna, so I have a ton of tuna abundantly available in my house, and he would only eat a specific kind.
This one.
He's a very snobby cat, but mommy lets him do whatever he wants. So I'm gonna pop that in there. And don't get the one that is the tuna in oil. I don't like that. I like just the plain tuna in water. I can add the oil if I want it. Let's see if I can get all that out of there. Come on, a little bit more. Hold that thought. I want to make sure I get all of this out of here.
Get our money's worth.
Get our whole money's worth, right? Because tuna's so expensive.
Hey, well, you know, we're using up ingredients in the house and making a delicious dish.
I happen to love tuna. I eat it just for breakfast sometimes with a little bit of lemon juice because I love it. So, toss all this together along with the rice. And the longer you let this marinate, the better the flavor will be. Just like a lot of the other dishes that I make. And it smells absolutely heavenly. And look how colorful it is. So something I mentioned the other day is that you eat with all of your senses, essentially. Obviously, your eyes first, because you see the color and how beautiful it is, so it's enticing. Just smell, because you smell all those spices in there. Your sound even, there's something to like the crunch of things while you're eating them. Obviously, texture is hugely important, so you've got the crunchiness and then the creaminess. And then last but not least, let's see, sound. I missed all
Taste.
Taste. Well, that's the most important one. I cannot believe I forgot that one. That's a good
Speaking
one
of that,
for you.
why don't you taste some?
Okay, I'm going to taste some. Ready? That was a big bite right there. Hold on. Let me get a smaller bite. So dang good. So damn good. It's my show, I'm going to say it that way. Oh, and I got a little bit of spiciness there from the roasted pepper sauce and also from the roasted red pepper flakes that were in the rice. Go home and make this. Well, stay home and make it. I'll talk to y'all later.